We are turning Ellowyne Wilde into a literary heroine. The Brontes are some of my favorite authors, and so I'll be totally geeking out on a character in Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. And it is not Jane Eyre. Guess who it is? Welcome to another Tonner collaboration I'm doing with March Payne's Dolly Midlife Crisis, Starch and Stitches, and The Dolls, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I will have @ linking their channels down below in the description, so make sure you head over there after you watch all of my video and see what they came up with as part of our literary heroine collaboration. And you can see I have one of my Ellowynes here. She is from our last collaboration I did with the same group, where we took a Tonner doll and we restyled the doll into dark academia, because we were inspired by Robert Tonner's dark academia collection that recently came out of Ellowyne and Nema's. So we came up with our own little dolly outfits. And as it happens, I think this doll is going to be perfect for this collaboration yet again. And this time I'm turning her into the Mad Woman from the Attic, as described in both Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte and Jean Rhys's Wide Sargasso Sea. I can't help myself. I just love our theme. And our theme is turning one of our Tonner dolls, Ellowyne Wilde in this case, into a favorite literary character. And right away, I thought of things like Jane Austen and Thomas Hardy and the Brontes. Those are some of my favorite authors. But I wanted to do something a little bit different. Of course, Jane Eyre is the story about a young woman who has had a really difficult life, and she ends up becoming a governess, and she goes to this mansion out on the moors. She finds a job there, and there's this mysterious man who's kind of scary, but yet, she's attracted to him clearly, and he's attracted to her right away. And eventually, there's all kinds of stuff happens. And one of the things that happens while she's there is that she learns that there's a mad woman in the attic. And Jane Rhys writes about this mad woman. She delves into what possibly could be the reason why she's crazy. Why is she in England, trapped in part of this mansion? Why did her husband put her away, who is Mr. Rochester? He's the love interest of Jane Eyre. And in the novel Jane Eyre, we're actually given a story where we're told that the reason why she's in the attic is because she's crazy, and as a young man, he was tricked into marrying her, not realizing that she had mental problems. And so he's doing his best to take care of her. But it's completely a different story when you read Jane Rhys's version of this in her novel. He comes off as a horrible man who actually tries to suppress her. He even goes so far as to changing her name. In Jane Eyre, she's called Bertha. In this novel, she's called Antoinette. And during the story in here, he starts to call her Bertha. And she's like, hey, that's not my name, dude. Right? So anyway, I highly recommend, if you like Jane Eyre, totally you need to read this. It gives you a completely different perspective of what could happen. And it really touches on the whole aspect of how men had power over women. And I will say, in some respects, continue to do so, but especially during this time period. In fact, the Mad Woman in the Attic actually spun off into a whole area of feminist literary theory, and there is a book called The Mad Woman in the Attic. I actually used to have that in my collection, and I did a major book purge recently, so I don't have it anymore. Isn't that just the way it is? But anyway, I'll put some links for any geeks out there that want to learn more about this. I'm going to put some links of interest down below in my description box. But let's get on to the sewing and the restyling of my Ellowyne to turn her into Antoinette from Wide Sargasso Sea. All right, guys, I have not done a meaty sewing project in quite some time. Wish me luck. I'm going to start my first attempt at this dress. I might have to make it a few times, but I am going to use white fabric. I've got this fabric here that I pulled out of my stash. It's very lightweight, and I don't know if I'm going to use this for the main pattern or the main part of it, the front part, or just the lining. And then I have this other fabric, which is white with sort of a pattern on the top. I don't know if you can really see that. It's very subtle. But I'm thinking of a white dress because I'm sort of going off inspiration from the novel that I have reread, as well as the movie that came out. I believe the movie came out in the mid-1980s. And there's a scene in there where she is wearing a white dress. And then, of course, she is the first wife of this Mr. Rochester. So she wears a wedding dress at one point. And then in the novel itself, there's a point where he talks about, there's his point of view, he's looking at, they call her Antoinette most of the time. He's looking at Antoinette and describes her wearing a white dress. Now, once I do this, I might make another one. I don't know how this is going to work out. I have not done a sewing project like this in quite a while. And I've had this raccoon rags pattern for quite some time. It's SSP-017. It says a condensed version of the full tutorial 20015. I've had this printed up, waiting for me to do it for years. I am going to do this attempt here, this version, but I'm going to change it a little bit. I have altered the top because I want the waist to be, more right at the natural waist. And then, of course, I'm going to make the skirt longer. Those are my plans. Will they come to fruition? We shall see. Success! After much weeping and gnashing of teeth around here, I do have a little bit of success with the top of this prototype. This dress might actually turn out halfway decent. We shall see. But yeah, I've been banging away at this, getting very frustrated. I actually got to the point where I was shopping around on AliExpress. And I was ready to just buy a dress for this collaboration. But I went back at it, and now I'm all happy again. So hopefully this first dress is going to turn out okay, and I will move on. And I think I'm going to definitely make it again. And we'll see which one works out for the collaboration at the end of this video. While Antoinette waits in the wings, because I'm about to reveal her, I did want to show you real quick how cute Nima looks in the prototype dress that I made. This is the first one that I made. I wasn't sure if this was going to be the dress, because in the movie as well as the book, they kind of mention her wearing white. And I really like it. I actually, like I said, I think it looks adorable on Nima, so I just wanted to show you her very quickly. But let's move on to see the final product here, the final look that I gave Ellowyne, who is now Antoinette. Here she is wearing the same dress, but I used different fabric. The top is lined in white. I made the skirt a little bit wider because I wanted it just a little bit fuller. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I've got it pulled down a little bit to kind of show her shoulders a little bit. Again, I'm kind of referencing the movie a bit. Let me see if you can see that there a little bit. In the movie, she's often wearing a dress that's kind of cut like this on the bodice, where you see just the bits of her shoulder. So I thought that was kind of something that just naturally seemed to work when I put this together. Again, I showed you that pattern at the beginning of this video, and it's exactly the same thing. I just added an inch to the bodice so that it hit her at the waist. At one point in the book, a red dress is actually mentioned in the end of the book. She's looking for her red dress. And there's also a point earlier in the novel, White Sargasso Sea, where he brings her yellow shawl. So I remembered I had this shawl already. And of course, I love this dark wild hair. I thought it really suited her. And I also already had the gold hoop earrings. So let me know what you guys think. Obviously, I'm not going for historical accuracy. It's more of a vibe and a feel of the character in White Sargasso Sea. I think this definitely has sort of this a little bit crazed look in her eye, which is because of these inset eyes. But it's funny how I use this doll so much for my collaborations. So expressive. All right, make sure you head over to March Payne's Dolly Midlife Crisis, Karen over at Stars and Stitches, and Kim over at The Dolls, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. As usual, please give this a thumbs up, and thank you so much for spending some dolly time with me. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Bye-bye.